How's it going, everyone? KingBlackToof here. So legend has it that if myself and Hitler were to ever kiss, our mustaches would never meet, which is the perfect time to play some more Gwent. And in this video I want to talk about the upcoming meta. Now it's not quite established yet, but there is a definite trend happening, and this is after the patch, I think it was 0.9.8. This has drastic changes to bronze weathers. We saw a lot of balancing for certain cards, and some abilities have been tweaked a little. And yeah, I want to talk about what that is. So hopefully people that are not aware of what's going on, what's sort of trending at the minute, can have an idea, and also what cards to tech in to beat these sort of trends, which are quite powerful. And hopefully your win rate will just increase due to this. So let's have a look at some of this trend first. So the first thing we see with this patch is a drastic change to bronze weathers. So with the exception of rain, which can hit multiple units, 5 of them for 1 damage, they do have to be leveled, and that's quite a difficult thing to do for rain, that hits the lowest units. So that, with the exception of rain, the frost and the fog can only hit a maximum of 1 unit per turn on a row. Okay, so it's relatively reduced and it's not that bad now. So the first thing we're seeing is not many people are taking weather clears. Okay, so people generally like to sit in weather. It's not that bad. 2 damage per turn. It's dealable, with armor, immune potions and movement. You can generally work your way around frost and fog in some ways, and it's not too bad to sit in it. So that's generally the first thing. So weather decks are actually coming along reasonably well because no one's clearing it most of the time. Now, the other thing that happens, the other repercussion of that, is that row stacking has become very important. People enjoy row stacking, it's quite beneficial. It's better to sit on 1 row and take 2 damage from a frost than it is to separate your minions and take 2 damage for each row, so 6 damage per turn. So a lot of people stack on particular rows. And for this reason, your first tech card, which is becoming quite common and quite effective, is Lacerate. Okay, so this will be very effective against some of the top tier decks at the minute. Although obviously this is not an established meta yet, but the ones that are seeming to emerge, things like Monster Consume with Arrakis chains, so they'll have loads of Arrakis, and a Lacerate will get great value and really halt them in their tracks quite a lot. And also dwarfs are stacking up on a row quite a lot with potions. Now a Lacerate will get good value there, but it won't remove anything, which could be a little bit of an issue there. The Lacerate is a great little card to take in. For obvious reasons, the Water Hag also has a Lacerate available, so she's quite a good card as well. So the next thing we saw is from the previous patch was Carryover. Now this is something that CD Projekt Red said was actually a bit of an issue. So that's the reason why we saw a couple of nerfs in that department. So Seleno Harpy went from 4 strength down to 3 to make it a little less worth value, although it is still worth enough that people play it a lot. You will see that a lot. And Olgierd and Morkvarg saw quite a hefty nerf in that they don't go down by 2 and 3. They go down by half. So buffing them up with a Wild Boar is not as effective because they'll lose a great chunk of it. So you won't see that very much anymore. But it didn't have the impact that CD Projekt Red generally hoped, I don't think, because it definitely seems to be still trending that huge carryover is the way that most of these particular decks are starting to gear towards if they can. And so you'll see a lot of large carryover from things like Squirtle and monsters. And this is mostly with resilience that you'll see it. You'll still see some harpies, maybe some golems here and there. But you'll see a lot of Squirtle Mahakam defenders with resilience getting buffed up loads that has huge carryover. And Ekimaras eating, a wide variety of buffed up Vrans, Katakans, Giant Toads, stuff like that. Okay, so you need to have a way to deal with resilience or high buffed up strength. So the first couple of tech cards are D-Bomb is a good one. Now, D-Bomb is quite effective for dealing with a lot of buffed up strength units. Okay, you will get good value from it most of the time. However, it's also very good for things like Tibor, Karen, and these cards like that. It allows you to deal with if someone plays Bork 3 Jackdaws, which I've seen people try and still use, Villain Trettenmurph. So it gives you some options against some of these gold cards as well, which is really nice for things like Unseen Elder, which has become quite popular to carry a unit over then eat. So you've got a gold 50 strength unit that you're going to lose a lot of card advantage over. D-Bomb will help you. And don't forget, stacking on a row is becoming quite popular. So it will deal with a lot of the dwarfs which are stacking on a row. You'll get great value out of it, in fact. But it won't actually stop people from having resilience, but it will make it marginal and not really that important. You'll probably win the round and then the resilience won't matter. And it's also useful against spotters and you know, stuff like that, protectors and stuff. So D-bomb is a great choice. Now, if you don't want to put D-bomb in because you don't have enough silver space possibly, then mushrooms can do a similar thing. But you know, with the amount of carryover, sometimes it can be quite difficult. So your next tech choice against this adrenaline rushed carryover are your faction specific locks and resets. So the first one that comes to mind, which I think is arguably one of the better ones, maybe on par with Nilfgaard, is Northern Realms Marguerita. She's the silver card which locks and resets. Okay, so she resets the base strength and locks them. So you completely deny any resilient units. So things like Ekimara, you eliminate a lot of strength, which is valuable on its own, as well as locking it so they don't get any carryover. Same thing for dwarfs. You could also use her against spotters, against protectors. You know, at the end of the game, if they didn't have any resilience, you could use it against the Vrand just to stop it consuming, or any really tricky, annoying cards like Arrakis Behemoths and stuff like that. So she's got a lot of use. Very, very powerful. And, you know, stick in a decoy, use her a couple of times, and you've got a lot of value in that one card. Now, there's a lot of factions, and they all have their own individual version. I think Northern Realms is up the top there. Nilfgaard is very close, if not on par, I would say, with Peter. Now, Peter is a reset and a -3 base strength. So he's basically a mushroom on a stick. And he won't deny a resilience. So, you know, if you use it on a Mahakam Defender Dwarf, he will reset the base strength and he will lower it down in base strength, but he won't actually kill it, and it still have resilience, so it could still be buffed. But he will work against Ekimari, or kill that outright. So he's a very good card. And again, you can use it to buff your units if they got damaged. You can, you know, use it on anything that's got buffed, even if it hasn't got resilience. So spotters and protectors and stuff like that. So Peter's really good. And then I would say the Fiend starts to come next. He locks and halves the strength, which if they've got a lot of strength, half can be a lot, but locking is very important, so he's a very good card there. Then we're starting to get into, I would say, Scoia'tael with Kieran. He locks and moves. It's not as effective because it's just like a lock, but it will deny the resilience, so you know, it doesn't matter if you lose if they don't have anything to carry over, especially if they piled a lot of stuff into that one round. But also, as well as that, the next faction is Skellige and Donna. Again, he just locks, but he also steals. So he's probably a little bit better than the Scoia'tael's one. And yeah, so he can deny it as well. Now, don't forget, Nilfgaard also have Orcs, which allows you to lock 2 particular cards. Radovid allows you to lock some cards as well. So your faction-specific resets and locks are very valuable. But Cleaver is there if you are maybe a beginner, because you get him for free. And he'll be quite good to stop this carryover. Your next tech choice, because there's still more, is Geralt Igni. Geralt Igni is probably the most important card at the minute. He seems to be worth it in pretty much every single scenario. He is worth something. So Geralt Igni is probably the card that everyone should put in their decks, I would say. If you're putting a tech card in, Geralt Igni works wonders. Now, I guess you could say you have to decide how valuable your 4 gold slots are. Marguerita does a great job. You might not need Geralt Igni, but, you know, Geralt Igni works. And, you know, if you really employ some decent tactics and really try to level cards, that you can get even more for him. So he's a very good card and definitely very important as a tech choice for resilient units which are buffed and stuff like that. Combine it with things like D-Bomb to get rid of Unseen Elder and Scorch. It's very important. So the last thing that we're starting to see a lot of is, I think, Thunderbolts. Now, this is really just a small thing that I wanted to comment on the end of this video. Thunderbolts, Alzor's Thunders. Now, I don't think anyone's taken Alzor's Thunder specifically, at least not many people. But cards which have choices for these types of things are really nice. So Death Mold has a choice for Alzor's Thunder, which is really cool because it allows you to sort of like hit that specific card like Mangonels. There's a lot of Thunderbolts going around because there's a lot of row stacking and stuff. So that's pretty cool as well. Now, I just want to talk about briefly some of the more common archetypes that you'll start to see as well. Nilfgaard Reveal are very common at the minute. So this is where all the tech choices that I spoke about are really effective. Things like Mushroom and D-Bomb and Igni and, you know, Marguerita that resets and Peter and stuff, because they're all out, well, base strength at the beginning, but then towards the end, it's a lot of buffs. And you're going to see a lot of consume. Now, you will see a lot of Arrakis Behemoths and Arrakis Chain consumes, but also I think people are going to start leaving that behind soon and not take Arrakis, because a lot of people are taking Lacerate. So there's a tech and counter tech towards that type of thing. And, you know, again, all the tech choices that I mentioned can beat that sort of stuff. You know, a Mushroom or a D-Bomb to get rid of the really high strength Ekimaras or Vrans and stuff, as well as Peter or Marguerita reset and lock things. So, you know, that they're good tech choices. You'll start to see Northern Realms machines. They're becoming quite common, I think. So again, Mushrooms to eliminate strength because they've been buffed by sergeants, and maybe you could lock the crewman and stuff like that. So Lacerate particular row because they have to stack on a row most of the time. Geralt Igni to scorch the big strength, and so, you know, a lot of these choices. Again, I just wanted to comment on how effective some of these tech choices could be in certain matchups. Square-tailed dwarfs was made popular very recently. So again, these tech choices will work against that. And what is the faction I haven't mentioned? There's a few monster weather going around because no one really clears it. So again, Death Mold is another thing where he can clear it if you want. So if they place down 3 frosts, clearing it actually hurts them quite a bit because that's a lot of weather they've used and they haven't gained as much stuff. So it can hurt to clear 3 weathers. And I think that's generally the archetypes that I'm seeing. I may have missed one, particularly Skellige. Queensguard, maybe. Thank you for watching. Take care. And I'll see you again very soon, as always.